Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. Back to a little bit more normal of a question count. We had 4 questions pop in today alone, the Sunday that I'm recording this, before I actually got to recording. So we'll see how quickly we move through those and see if we have time for some Twitch questions. I've already let the Twitch chat know that we may or may not get to their questions by the time we're done with all the forum ones. Before we get started though, we do have some Patreon stuff to talk about. It's mostly just thanking the Patreon supporters like we do every week. So thank you to all of our avid supporters over on Patreon of the various different tiers. We have a long list of names that we are going to go through as per usual. We have our Patrons of Light. We have Khuja Cross on Jenova and Kurenai Oni. Those two have gone above and beyond in terms of their support over the past several months, over the past year, in close to one case. So on the YouTube side of things, you guys will see a picture that they provided for the actual video, whether it's new or old, doesn't matter. Thank you, both of you, for being massive supporters of the stream as you have been. The YouTube channel, actually. The Patreon's mostly for the YouTube channel. We also have all of our other sponsors as well. Now, there are some new names here. Excuse me if I get them wrong or if they may be not necessarily exactly the way you want them to, but be sure to message me if you hear one you think is you and it's not correct. So we have our standard sponsors. We have, let me move these over here so I can talk into the microphone. Hannington, these are our standard sponsors. Hannington, Wabatalia, Alma Elma, Dark Luminon Jenova, Marianne, Remil Gaming, Sabo Empire, Mizra, Red Wings of the Baron FC from Zalera, Fray Blackheart, Cidus, Oreo and Shiva, Syd Hellwind of Gilgamesh, Afro Ninja from Malboro, Cheesecake from Leviathan, That Lame Weeb, Ashen, Emiya of Cerberus, Fafarian, Rendil, Stevie-Rex, and Neon. We have our elite sponsors. We have Crazed Demeter from Midgard. We have Rygen Ventinus from Cactar. We have Carol, Ray, Senchi, Shadowlink on Tonberry, Dom, Asuka Wake from Jenova, Limilla Nelhah of Midgard Stormer, Sarah and the Fennel Family, Janhyua Yotsuyu, Kifka and the Great Eagles on Exodus, Dark Graver, Kadeyoshi from Khuja, Skia Symphonia from Ragnarok, Rylanator Westaus The Purple Warrior, Agic Red Seal on Exodus, Lexxie Valentine, Mantaru the Rivivus FC from Zodiac, Sour Cream and Chives from Jenova, I can't speak today. Rynoet Chikara, Goetia Valfar of Siren Hirsch, reading the names completely out of order now. Phoenix Down FC on Goblin and Saren from Zodiac. I knew I fell off this morning. Didn't know it was going to bleed into my speech 6 hours later. And then going on to the next list, we have our premium sponsors. We have Nyrek Vizsla of the Red, Alchemy, Shinka, Casual Heroes FC on Midgard Stormer, Tatachitaka on Hyperion, Kei Nazuki of Jenova, Ustarla on Coworl, Sathal, Sarah Frost from Behemoth, Holy Tabasco, Red Thorn Nasura, Crass 015, Mustang, Serenity FC on Ultras, Kat Kazuma, Ignis Fairgun from Excalibur, Vlestra of Famfrit, Noct Cordis from Excalibur, Krovos Moonscar, Private Mikey, Nana Kirasami, Rudy Rudiger, Killer Hackman, Roll Jr., and Kiltastic Jones. Whew, see, I managed to make it through. I flubbed in the middle there a little bit. It's a lot of names, but we managed to make it through. Anyway, we got quite a few questions, so let's skip any other formalities and get right to the questions on the forum, shall we? All right, question number 1. Hello, Mr. Happy. I wish you a very good day. I wish you a very good day in return. Finally cleared Otol Savage. In 2 weeks, my friends are going to gift me the Omega mount. My question is, what are your thoughts on Final Omega? Do you enjoy the mechanics and the fight itself? I was really happy with this raid tier. I think this raid tier kind of brings me back to Creator in a sense, where it just felt like the fights were, I guess, better put together in a sense. See, that's not supposed to be there, but it's there by accident. So, hey, did you guys know on the YouTube channel that Sebi has resubbed for the 37th month in a row? You can't even hear the alert, but at least it popped up, and now you know he's been subbed for 37 months. So might as well thank him. Sub hype in the YouTube comment section while you're at it, because that's, might as well. I don't see any reason why not to. It was really good. I was really impressed with what they did. I feel like the second half of Omega could have been better. Just reusing the first half kind of wasn't as interesting, I felt, as 011. And for that reason, 011 I actually prefer over Final Omega. But it was a better exhibition, I felt. And also, the fact that they designed Final Omega to be kind of along the same veins as Uwu, where it was going to be much more difficult to progress than it was to copy someone who had already progressed. I felt like that made the progression of Final Omega a lot more interesting, and I hope they adapt or continue to adopt that in the future, because it makes for way more interesting progression. Question number 2. Hello, Mr. Happy. Greetings from Indonesia, and hope you have a nice week. Wow, whole week. I would love a whole nice week. I get them pretty often. Long time viewer, first time asking. Have a Luwak white coffee as a bonus. I'm done with my coffee for the day, so could always use more. I would like to ask your opinion about skills going forward into Shadowbringers. Already asked this on the previous Mondays, but I thought maybe I should ask and expand on the question. Do you think we will get a skill that so far is only used by NPCs? You know, like the last boss of Temple of the Fist, or the Hanzos that you run into in the level, or Hanzo's skill, the level 70 ninja job quest. Sephiroth Eggy for Summoner, things like that. In Swordblade, we got Brotherhood, which is kind of similar to the level 60 boss that you fight in the Monk quest, but no other jobs got that kind of treatment. You know, it's not that they can't. I think a lot of people have wanted, or at least against my better judgment, asked for like a 4th Mudra for ninjas, which I think is a disaster waiting to happen. I've seen people ask for stuff like this, and I don't think the answer is ever no. Do I think we'll see them? I think if you do, you see them in very tamed versions of them. You don't see they're not nearly as crazy as the NPCs would use, or maybe they're just drawn inspirationally from those NPCs, which is very different than outright copying the skill. And I can't ever say no to that, because like you've mentioned, we kind of get stuff that's similar. But am I ever banking on it at the same time? Not really. I don't really think... Temple of the Fist, I recognize a lot of those as variants of our current skills. And not that our skills couldn't evolve to be like that, but they're very different than the way our skills work, in a sense. And so it would be very odd to see some of them evolve, like bringing you down to 1 HP, for example, in Temple of the Fist. And I don't see them doing stuff like that. But animations and whatnot, I totally see that at the very least being something they pull from those NPCs, if they haven't already. Question number 3. Hey, Haps, it's been a while since I last asked a question. If you went over the stuff before, then I am sorry. So I have 2 questions, and it looks like there's a lot of text around them. First one is about the dreaded DPS add-on. What are your thoughts of them implementing a meter that only you can see so you monitor your DPS, and you wish to allow others, you can also track your DPS? So here's the thing. If they did that, it's great because it's built into the game. It's good to have that kind of information to be able to work on self-improvement, and I agree. A personal DPS meter would be good, especially for PS4 players. That being said, you would never have your DPS be private, because anyone who's been using ACT all these years wouldn't care about your personal DPS meter because they would use it. So that sort of functionality would just immediately be lost, or the point of it would immediately be lost. So I don't see them ever really taking it to that degree. But something in game for the PS4 players to track, I agree, would be a big improvement over having nothing like they do right now. And then so round 2, after I finished 4.4, before seeing the end, I had already watched the new trailer for the new expansion. After seeing 4.4, it made me think. I made sure to scroll up because it's now going into some stuff regarding the expansion. We already know, obviously, if you've seen the trailers for Shadowbringers, are going to be becoming the Warrior of Darkness. But I'm just trying to get a general idea of what the question is. It doesn't really look so much like it's a question. It looks like it's more of a thought. And since we have so many questions this week, I want to make sure I have time for those. So I've read it, I've absorbed it, but I'm going to move on to the next question just to make sure there's enough time for everybody and potentially Twitch questions. So let's go forward. Question number 4. Hey, Mr. Haps. Hello. How are things going? They're going all right. No bonus since I'm not new. I hope you have a great holiday season. After having watched the free stream of FanFest at home with my wife, we are both resolved to be there in 2020. Hope we get to meet you there. Likewise, then, I'll hold you to it. So my question is pretty quick. After watching the cinematic, my wife and I thought as to who the little girl is, and if you would incur, would end up on a different idea. So our thought is that it's Minfilia Reborn, which is why Thancred. What are your thoughts? Yeah, this is not even like a kind of like a unique thought. It being a reborn Minfilia is pretty much everyone's go-to guess right now. And that's also, she has more female, or at least the little child, as I refer to them, has more feminine features and some clothing similarities to the Minfilia we last saw. At least when you can see slightly under the garb and the dress she's kind of wearing. There's also everyone's thought, and this is one that I kind of wish it was, is that it's Unukalhai. But being a child of light doesn't seem very likely for Unukalhai, who's, while he's kind of like an underdeveloped warrior of light, his world was completely plunged into darkness and created a void. So I think the Minfilia Reborn thing right now, it's either Minfilia Reborn or someone we haven't met. It's probably one of the two. And those are the 2 theories that I'll probably kind of lean towards going into the future. Question number 5. Hey Haps, with Shadowbringer being the next expansion and possibly a more darker tone, can we possibly see another Calamity? Well, it's almost implied that another Calamity, if not is going to happen, is implied that we are attempting to stop. I mean, that's literally said word for word in the Shadowbringers trailer, so that's just a matter of what kind of Calamity is it. will we see it? Will we or will we prevent it before it ever fully takes place? Those are all questions that we won't have answers to until Shadowbringers come out. So there's not really much I can offer you from an answer standpoint of the Q&A here. Number 6, while I'm watching your awesome Twitch playthrough of World of Final Fantasy Maxima, I remember I had a Mondays question. Hey, I've been really enjoying Maxima. I mean, I really enjoy World of Final Fantasy, and I really hope it gets a sequel. Are you planning to attend PAX East this coming year? It's the first year I've gotten tickets, and my thought was, I wonder if Happy will be there. I'm very uncertain at this point if I'm going to be attending PAX East. I'm not a fan of it. Just, it's so cold every year. The weather's always crap. It's always so cold, and I'm not down with it. I've been the last few years though. It's not looking likely for me this year for PAX East. If it was later, maybe in like April, I might consider it. And if it goes back to being in April, I'll probably consider it. And even if I did go, PAX East being extended to 4 days, man, it's just so not for me. I would be leaving on the 31st because I cannot do 4 days of a convention like that. It's just too tough on me to be there a day before, to be there for 4 more days and then go home the next day. I just can't do that, man, being away for 6 days like that. So it's not looking likely that I'll be going to PAX East this year. Question number 7. Hey, App Man, how you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. Today's bonus features are chicken. Chickens are nice. Nom nom. Got 2 questions. Out of all 12 turns of Omega, which has been the most enjoyable? And which one sucked the most? I have an easy answer for that one. Sucked, I'll give you first. The very first one. The very first one is just terrible. I don't like it. I just didn't like it. I could probably think of some close play seconds. I would know you'd assume maybe I would say 06, but as a melee DPS, maximizing your DPS on 06 is a lot of fun because it's a very simple fight, and maximizing uptime on that fight makes it a great deal more interesting than Alt-Roit. Alt-Roit just, so boring. Honestly, in retrospect, Guardian is fairly low on my list too. It's one of those fights where once you realize how scripted it really is, it's not nearly as exciting, and the fight is also just too long. It just feels like it is dragging on and at a pace that's not that enjoyable. So Guardian has fallen much lower on my list than when he first came out, now that I've kind of gotten to look at it in retrospect. But Alt-Roit definitely sits at the very bottom. It was just such a bad encounter. As for the most, 011. 011, I feel like they broke enough conventions in that fight, between the background music and between the progression of the fight, him not really repeating mechanics so much as evolving them throughout the fight was a really solid thing to progress through. I would say that Neo X-Death is fairly close, even though he kind of follows those conventions. The first half of the fight, second half of the fight repeats, and then in Rage phase, which is pretty normal for them. I felt like he was... the way I approached that fight was a great bit different. It was the first fight where we had the initial boss and the final boss with the checkpoint in the middle. It was one where both the fights were relatively intense. The first fight being relatively DPS intense and very movement heavy, whereas the second fight was very coordinated and made use of the entire arena very effectively. So it's a close second place. There's a few others that are fairly close to Neo X-Death as well. My chat brought up Halicarnassus is actually a fairly good one. I actually really like Phantom Train. It's annoying as a fight because of just the way things pan out, but I was grateful for a first encounter that felt very first encounter worthy. Chaos also felt very first encounter worthy, without being a good mix of not too overbearing but not too simple. There were some pretty good mixes. There was a few stinkers in there as well. As for the second question, do you think there's been a consistent pattern in the difficulty of 1 through 4? 1 is the easiest, 4 is the hardest. So for me it depends. I like to progress on them as soon as they come out. And I'd say that the one place where they lack that consistency is in Deltascape. I'm sorry, in Sigmascape, where I felt Phantom Train was harder than 06. So that might be the one place where it kind of fell out of line. Guardian is also debatably... it's very simple, but I remember progressing on it. I was wondering how I felt about Guardian by the time I got through Kefka. And before figuring it all out and being able to predict the whole fight from the first 10 seconds on, I felt he was a little harder. Now, not so much. Other than that, though, I'd say other than 05, 06, they held pretty steady. Difficulty-wise, 011 and 012 you could debate potentially, but I think that the progression of 012 was rough enough to the point where I'd probably still place it over 011 difficulty-wise. Also, the strictness of certain things like Hello World just kind of gets me there, as well as a few other things. So, yeah, other than 05, 06, yeah, I'd say they stayed fairly consistent, and I hope they do. I hope they continue that, and I would love more boss fights, but I don't think we'll be getting them. So, yeah, thanks for the question. So, questions, plural. Question number 8. Hello, Mr. Happy. Do you think with the hinted time skip, did I say Stormbringers? I've done that so many times since they announced Shadowbringers. I don't know how many people I've seen do it, how many times I've done it, said Stormbringers. Ugh. Shadowbringers. This is what they get for doing 2 SBs in a row. Anyway, back to the question. Do you think there's a hinted time skip and chaos in the trailer? We are headed for a new calamity. I feel like this is very similar to the question we just had before. Oh, the post said Stormbringers. All right. Well, I mean, I can't blame them for that either because I've done it too. The moon trailer feel like our world's going to be shaken up. I don't know, dude. This is one of those things where there's not really enough information to say yes or no. And thinking one thing or the other is more a matter of, it's wishful thinking. Like, there's not really much a basis in anything. Chaos, I mean, I don't really think chaos is going to have much to do with anything. And the time skip is questionable. It could be someone reaching back into the past and talking to us. We don't actually time skip. There's all sorts of unanswered things that you just kind of can't draw from. You can't draw any conclusions. You just can't. So this is a please ask me again when we have more information, aka after 4.51 and 2. Question number 9. Greetings, Mr. Happy. How you doing? I'm doing alright. You doing alright? I'm doing alright. Not really a question, but some research and clarification on the peaches topic. Oh no, I don't want to talk about it. Well, if there's not a question, I don't know if I really want to relive this. I just don't want to. I don't know if I want to relive this. Let's see. Oh no, this one's okay. I thought this was about a different peaches question. I thought this was more of a brothels question thing. Okay, well at least it's just talking about some clarification. Reveal like 4 peaches. Oh no, I feel like I had this conversation with you. I remember having this conversation with somebody in my chat about the peaches. Like, this is actually going back to the initial peaches question and how there hasn't been a peach discovered in Eorzea yet. You know, maybe if we go to a new region, peaches confirmed, and then it was like Doma is where peaches are from. So I don't know. That's all I know is I don't know if I want to relive all the peaches moments. And since we have so many other people who have written in, I think I'm going to go to the next actual question and not give too much more time to talking about peaches because it's peaches. All the same, it's peaches. Question number 10. Hey, Haps, haven't had a question in a while. How you doing? I'm doing alright. You doing alright? I'm doing alright. When 4.4 released, I got caught off guard by the item level requirements of Suzaku and wasn't able to run it for a while. 4.5 coming up. What do you think the item level will be for Seiryu? So if I recall correctly, it's usually just 15 item levels under, I'm pretty sure. Like, Suzaku would drop 385, so it'd be 370. So if this drops, let's assume this drops 405, it'd be 390. I think that's probably, or 390. No, 390. Is it only 10 item levels under? I could have swore Suzaku was not 375, it was 370. Because if Suzaku's 370 drops 385, Seiryu would drop 405s and be 390 for the minimum. I don't think they jump up 25 item levels. I have to take a look. Ever since I remember Thornton dropped like what 205s and he was 190 minimum. So I think we've been around that for extremes for a pretty long time now. Pretty sure it requires like they would drop 395. It would drop 395. Am I misremembering? Oh, you're right. You're right. It only goes up 10 item levels. Yeah. Okay, that's very, very different. Yeah. So if it's going to be probably 15, I guess the whole point is it's probably going to be 15 item levels under whatever it drops. And the way they do the primal weapons is kind of strange. I'm trying to remember how exactly it went. Because I don't remember Tsukiyomi. Yeah, Tsukiyomi's was 365. Yeah, and then this goes through. Then this is 385, then 395. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, so it'll probably be it'll probably be 380. 380 is the number that you're going to be looking for most likely. So also a second question: is the 6th Magistrate worth getting in Eureka? Not really. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of money potentially for what's a nice little thing that'll help you in the 4th zone, but is so far from mandatory that it really doesn't matter that much. Question number 11. Hello, Mr. Happy. I hope you are doing great. I'm doing pretty good. You doing alright? I'm doing alright. Here are my questions. I am playing from Florida, and according to ACT, my ping is 130 to 150. From what I understand, the game is playable under 200. What would you recommend to reduce ping? A lot of people use ping zapping programs. Ping Zapper itself, Battle Ping, Mudfish is a really popular one. That's a pay-as-you-go one. That's pretty popular. Battle Ping I had the most success with in recent history. I haven't tried Mudfish, but I've heard a lot of people, not only is it cheap, but I hear it works fairly well. So that's it. I mean, you really don't need one at that ping, but reducing it's going to feel better. So you might as well try one of those Mudfish being probably the cheapest option of the bunch. And number 2, how can I recognize being burned out by a game? You don't want to play anymore is usually the biggest sign. I don't really want to play anymore. I don't really feel like logging in. Why am I logging in right now? Why would I do that? That tends to be the biggest sign of burning out, is when you sit down and you go, all right, time to log in, and you go, but wait, but why am I logging in? Like, even if you have things to do, you're just like, I don't know why I'm logging in right. I mean, I guess I could do this, but I don't know. Maybe I'll try to go do this instead. All right. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to do this. As soon as you start having to, like, guess yourself every time you go, what do I want to do? That's a pretty obvious sign right there. And I don't know. I can't really tell you what to play in place of an MMO. You just play something else. Doesn't matter what it is. Go play checkers. Anything else. Just it's like when you eat, like, the same food. Like, if you were meal prepping and you made the exact same, like, 12 chicken meals, you'd hate yourself by, like, the 4th one. So you make, like, 3 that's one style and 3 that's another style, and you, like, mix it out. You're just trying to wet the palate with something different. It's like having ginger between pieces of sushi. You need to just blank slate, make it so the next time you come back to it, it's good. So just anything else. That's it. Anything else. All right, question number 12. Hey, Hap, since you're the kind of person who knows all types of players that play 14 and probably motivates them, I think you may have the best answer to this PvP feast question. You know, you had a pretty good read on everything, and then you asked about the feast, and I don't know that you have a great read on the situation anymore, but I'll humor it because I don't think I'm an authority on this. From what I've observed, casual 14 players have busy lives and limited amount of times. The feast, they probably don't do the feast because let me have my fun first and ask the complicated questions later. Type of approach, comparison to type of 14. Content 14 offers. You have mediocre, pickup groups, and log on regularly. The form of progression, rejecting the feast from any sort of specific reason, pass, and present win trading like lacquer. Yeah, okay, that motorcycle really doesn't like the PvP question. Which side notes stem from the fact that ability kit was designed to appear simple, scaling up the skill roof, and this PvE where you lack coordination. You know, it's time to feast, community agrees rank decay. The effect. I don't think rank decay would be that effective anymore. I've kind of given up on that one. Recorded the leaderboard and set your current score of paper. It's rank decay. Lastly, of PvP community with a lot more spoken veterans. Hold stance towards general 14. You can't. You just can't just coupon the feast. No reason to try. It's fair seek. What do you think needs to be done for people to give feast a second chance? PvP just needs to play better. It just doesn't play well right now. That's all there really is to it. It just doesn't play well. It plays well enough to do it if you really want to. But even the veterans of PvP are not, I've spoken to a bunch of them, they're not happy with it right now. If they're not happy and they're still doing it, what the hell do you expect everyone else to do? You know? No one, if the people who actually want to do it don't like it, what does that mean for the people who don't normally like it? And you're trying to get them to start playing it. It doesn't work. You got to listen to those people who are at least to some degree, listen to the people who actually like do it and have an idea of like what it is and take their feedback and improve it from there. Me, I know I stopped liking it as much when I couldn't type. For me, I was just like, really? You can't type in PvP. I have to use these pre-made messages to do anything. So for me, then all of a sudden it's like, well, then I can just do team PvP. But then I don't want to because I didn't like the systems they put in place. I like the idea of consolidating the skills, but my job, Monk, is terrible. It's horrible in PvP. So I can learn something else that I'm less interested in, but I don't want to, so I'm just screwed in pretty much every way, shape, and form. So I don't know if it needs to be better. I don't know how else to answer it because I don't play it enough to tell you what they need to do to make it better. I just know it needs to be better. And that's the only way you're going to get more people in, is to make it better. So make it better. Question number 13. Hey, Hap, I hope all is going well. I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. My question for this week is regarding the hardest fight in the game, Ralbon Extreme. Do you think with the data center changes and the world travel system will address the problem of not being able to start instances, or just a thing we need to wait and see? It's a thing of wait and see. So here's the true issue. Half of Ralbon Extreme is from too many people using Duty Finder servers because it uses it for those solo instances. The other half is the number of people interacting with a single NPC. So if we split up, what it seems their hope is, if we split up into 3 data centers, we have less people individually talking, collectively talking to the same NPC per data center. So that should reduce strain on the Duty Finder. Then you have to conquer people, having too many people interacting with the NPC at the same time, and the world visit system should counter that. How it will probably work is realistically not in our favor. What I think is going to end up happening is, I know a lot of people like to joke, oh, they get DDoS, they don't do anything about it. It's really hard to prevent DDoSing. Anyone who thinks it's just as simple as that and you fix DDoSing has no idea what the problem is. And I have a feeling we're going to be seeing more of that. We saw some of it on top of the already existing server issues at the last launch. So I have a feeling that even with these things in place, it's not going to stop someone from just, throwing $20 at a friggin' bot program to try and screw with our experience. Because they do it all the time on the other servers as it is. And sometimes people DDoS the services around 14 and it affects them too. Like the individual hops where we're trying to connect to the server, or an ISP of some kind, or any of those. There's so many things that can go wrong that there's no way I feel there's no way they can possibly contain us from having another Ralbon Extreme type experience. Outside of not putting a bottleneck like that so early on. And even then, you're not going to stop people. There's so many things I could say about it. I think it's going to happen again. I would love for it to not to. I'd love to be proven wrong. I think it's going to happen again. And the final question, which is question number 14. Hey, Haps, how you doing? I am doing all right. Are you doing all right? I'm doing all right. Rajan here. Thanks for saying you remembered me from last FanFest at the LBR after party. I remember you right now because I just changed your name and fixed it right before we started the show. For a guy who doesn't think he's great at social setting, that's a solid social memory. Oh, it's pretty bad most of the time. You got lucky. You got lucky. Let's just say that. Or I stand out amongst players. You're nice. You're a nice person. That stands out. Actually, pretty much everyone I met was pretty nice at FanFest. It was good. I didn't get too much harassment at this one. The first one, man, I got harassed at the first one a few times. In the Shadowbringers content preview, we get the new Beast Tribe, but we did not get their Primal. Given that we are likely getting close to Garlemald, will it be safe to assume the Beasts are to suppress at that point and the faith is too low? They confirmed we're getting new Primals. So I'm going to assume the Numo have one and they weren't ready to show it off, which surprises me because they almost always reveal a Primal alongside its Beast Tribe. It depends on the direction it is. So if the Numo are in an area that's more like Ivalice, then it's probable that they just weren't ready to show it. If they're closer to Garlemald and the amount of ether there is still relatively low, we only just opened up the burn so that ether could begin free flowing back to Ilsabard again. That's a much tougher call. I think they probably have a Primal. I think every Beast Tribe has a Primal, whether or not we've seen them or summoned them or mentioned them yet. Even the Namazu have the big one. I just think it's a matter of they weren't ready to show it. I think that's all it is personally. But I'd love to be surprised and see something more like the Four Lords, which weren't really Primals. They were something different lore-wise. I would prefer them to shake it up like they did with the Four Lords, even if the effective function is the same. But anyway, that's the last question on the forums. So it looks like I have time for probably a couple of questions from the chat, just based on how long it took me to get through those plus editing. So chat, if you guys have a good question, I'll include it. If not, the next time you see my face on the YouTube video will be me signing off. So Twitch chat, let's see what you got. All right, well, I answered a bunch of questions, but they were mostly like 1, 2, 3 answers that, weren't really super in-depth. So I'm not going to include any of the questions I answered in the Twitch chat in the YouTube video, but I still answered a bunch of questions. So if you have a question for Mondays with Mr. Happy, you can either post it in the description of this video. There's going to be a forum link, and you go there and you post the question there, or you show up about 1 p.m. Pacific on Sundays to the live stream. That's where I actually record these live. And then even if it's a question I don't include in the video, still get an answer. To be fair, if you show up on my stream almost any time, I'll answer almost any question. So I guess that part doesn't really matter that much. But anyway, thank you so much again, everyone, who asked a question this week. Be sure to ask your questions for next week in that forum that I mentioned in the description of the YouTube video. And thank you again to our supporters over on Patreon, who the list goes up, the list goes down, but you guys are all awesome all the time. Thank you for supporting the YouTube channel. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. I'll hang out with my Twitch chat for a few more minutes and then wrap things up. But for YouTube, I'll see you next time. And until then, take care.